Welcome to the England Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast, your destination for all things lacrosse. I'm your host, Kyle Devitt. I'm in a hotel room in Maine because I'm supposed to be on vacation. I'm going to the beach after this. And with me, across the internets, Mr. Owen Hart.
How's it go? You look like I'm from the beach or the gym. I know it's not the gym, so then it's the beach.
Now, I went to the gym. Hey,
Sure,
let me tell you something. Maine, great gyms. Who knew?
Probably nobody's there. No, I'm kidding.
No, just incredible setups.
Nice.
They have ripped me off intensely with the day rates, but it's fine. I got to work out. I got to be here. I got to be ready to play in Lake Placid next week. Let's bring in our guest, also a Maine connection, Waynflete's Ralph Nelson. What's up, man? How are you?
Good, Kyle. Thanks for having me, Owen. David, thanks again. Just wrapping up summer camp with Trilogy Future Aces at St. Mark's School in Southborough, Mass. So it's a nice change of pace to be in the dorms for a little bit, because usually we don't get much downtime. And so, yeah, it's great to be here. Can't wait to chat it up with you guys.
Yeah. So I'll just fill the audience in on the background. I was just clicking through. I'm here on vacation and I can't help myself, right? I'm like, hey, I'm in Maine. I should probably talk to some Maine people, Maine lacrosse people. We don't get up here enough to cover the sport. I know we have a couple guys with the Anastas brothers and York and Yarmouth. We have a couple of those guys that we've spotlighted and talked about. But I was like, I see this thing, Maine Lax Power, on Instagram. I'm like, what is that? I should just ask them if there's any camps or like what's going on. And I messaged them, and it turns out it's you, Mr. Nelson.
You're the guy, yeah.
And I was like, hey, is there anything I should check out while I'm here? Any camps, anything you guys are doing together? And you created a summer league of college guys that are playing in college and college committed guys in Maine. And you just made it work. And I literally, the first thing I thought was, I have to steal that. I want that for New Hampshire. I am going to go see this. I'm going to see how it's run. I'm going to check it out. And I saw you in your element, mad genius, using a thing you've rigged up on a scoreboard with a shot clock, and you got a point line. I just want to hear the beginning of that story of how that happened. And then we'll kind of get into more specifics about your coaching and your career.
Yeah, totally. It was kind of something that I conjured up in October of last year. And I just kind of began putting my feelers out with who would be interested. So there was a good handful of guys that, I always know are playing during winter break or putting a game together in the fall. So I touched base with those college guys first that are just all over the place. They're active on social media as far as their training, where they're playing, and getting boys together that want to get a good game in over break, like a winter break or fall. And so in October, I kind of began, stirring the pot a little bit. They're like, hey, we're considering putting something together this summer with like a once a week championship model gameplay with post-collegiate, collegiate, and 2025 committed athletes. And we would have a draft. We would put the most competitive game out possible. Would this be something that you would be interested in? And the feedback was outstanding. They were like, absolutely. And so throughout the year, through whatever developments I was making as far as, field insurance and liability costs, the cost to run the league as far as equipment, what we're going to need, the refs, being in contact with refs throughout the year. And on top of all this, I'm a full-time, phys ed teacher at Waynflete School. And so trying to balance the time between the commitment that my job needs on top of the commitment that putting this together needs, on top of me not being on my phone while I'm home with my wife and 6-year-old daughter. So just really trying to I knew that if I wanted to make this a legitimate thing, I needed to get ahead of the game, and it needed to come it was going to be a slow burn throughout the year. And so I started gaining traction in about, I want to say February. I really started, I knew I would have a field. I knew I would have the refs. And so then I just needed to figure out the logistics of how I can take care of these guys. Like, how can I do this the right way, make sure they're protected? And I know there's plenty of leagues out there that just kind of blow the whistle and roll the ball. And I didn't want to be one of those leagues where you just show up and you got a guy rolling the ball out and blowing the whistle. Like, I wanted it to be something that they can commit to and something that they would have, some pride in playing. And so, I was in, through our field rental, we needed to get insurance and liability, which was perfect because it gave all the guys in the league protection, up to $100,000 worth of health insurance protection, a $2 million field coverage insurance and liability. And that made me feel better. I got on the horn with an athletic trainer. I've built a pretty good network over the years of working with schools. And so I had a couple ATs on the horn and I said, hey, I know you're busy, but is there anyone that that would be willing to, help us out this summer and just work in our league and be in the box and just be there for guys that need wraps, that need ice, that need just maybe, something got tweaked and they can come to you. And so we snatched up one of those guys as well. And we have a great reffing network, 3 guys that have just been in the game for so long, collegiate high school club. And so that adds to the legitimacy of the league as well. And we've been in communication since May, putting this all together. They're in the know as far as whatever documents I sent to the boys, as league expectations and all that good stuff. But I was kind of blown away with how well it got put together. We had kids buying in and paying for the league before there was even a product. And I wasn't really expecting that. Like, kids were just like, I'm in, like, take my money. Like we're good to go. And it was a little overwhelming at first because, uniforms, Atlantic Sportswear does a great job taking care of their Maine boys. And they, put an order through Atlantic Sportswear. They were fantastic in getting it in on time. And that was my big stressor. It's like, all right, now we got the product, we have the bodies. Now we got to put this thing together. We got to make sure that, the uniforms are ordered and that the insurance and liability goes through, that, everything's paid for. And so the last, the 3 weeks before the league was going up, it was like, all right, like we're there. And we just, on the first night, it was a great opportunity. Everyone came out and we just got a feel for like the pace, the tone, the tempo, the level of play was outstanding. The funniest thing about the first night was, and this is the whole goal of the league, right? Is to just bring the Maine lacrosse community together, like put together a product that represents Maine and what these boys work so hard for all year long. Let's showcase it. And the guy that I work with, we're both on the field and everyone's sitting on the same bench. Everyone's sitting on the same bench. Like, I set up 2 benches. We got waters, like we got music going, they got bench here. Everyone's going to the same bench and they're just like dabbing each other up. They're putting on the yellow, they're putting on the orange. It's like, this is great. Like, this is why we did this. Is everyone's just like so psyched to come together and play. And the second night comes around and, I'm talking with the refs throughout the week being like, hey, what's your take on a shot clock and a 2-point arc? And so we're just, chatting it up and getting that put together. And we, throughout this whole process, I have a chat group with every single team and it's on my phone. And so any questions, I take attendance before the games and I have a pool of about 18 guys, alternates that play. So we've never had a short bench. And so we always have a good bench throughout each game. But, throughout any changes, I try to be as transparent as possible with the guys in the league and as well as the refs, just keeping everyone in the know. But the second week came around, we had the shot clock and we had the 2-point arc, and it was just gas from that point on. Like, the guys were having so much fun. And I'm just so impressed and just so grateful for the buy-in that these guys have done and the effort that they put in each week.
Yeah, I went down and saw it myself with my girlfriend's son, who's 10, and we got to sit in the booth. And he goes, "We sit in the booth? I've never sit in the booth." I'm like, and I'm like, oh, I go to the booth all the time. I'm like, oh, right, like no one sees lacrosse like that. So he comes up, he's like, and the sun is beating down in the first game. He's like,
oh, it's brutal.
He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm like, you're fine. Get the shades behind me. But he's like, this is fast. Like we left And we're in the car driving back, and he's like, "Is that what like lacrosse is like kind of like supposed to look like?" I'm like, "Yes, that is what lacrosse is supposed to look like. Like it's fast. It was super fast paced. Like I really enjoyed personally just watching. I'm trying to identify helmets, and I'm like Wheaton kid, Bates kid, Falmouth kids, because I know a couple Maine helmets, but not all of them. Like York helmet. Where's he going? You know, like I'm trying to pick out as we're talking. And meanwhile, Coach Rob is sitting here, resetting the shot clock and the clear clock himself as he's talking. And I'm like, I need to stop talking to this dude. He's working too hard. He's like, he's got his own custom setup, like a 3-finger mouse thing. And he's like, I'm like, is he doing Morse code? And I realize he's resetting the shot clock and the clear clock every single time. And because it's so fast, it's just going like this. And I mean, I've never seen a guy run a league like that and just be that involved. So that was super inspiring for me. Thank you for having me. And my girlfriend saw he was super excited until he had too much heat stroke to like stay at the game. We had to go. The thing that's fascinating to me, and I love Maine. I've been coming to Maine on vacation since I was a little kid, right? And the thing that's different about especially Massachusetts, but also New Hampshire, is like the lacrosse communities. There are rivalries, but there's no out and out hatred that I've experienced. And I'm talking from the high schools and also from the club teams. The club teams pretty much get along in Maine. Yeah, there's some friction, obviously, but it's not like New Hampshire where like, if I try to do what you did in New Hampshire, the biggest deterrent is the two main club teams would like try to take it over. They would try to like get in and be like, no, this is our league, or we're doing a league against your league. There would be no cooperation. And the thing that fascinated me is when I talked to you about that, you were just kind of like, yeah, I mean, they're doing their thing. This is college kids are already gone. Like there's not a lot of friction between those teams. Like you don't have to have ownership of it. You know, it's its own thing. We made it work. And I think the great thing about it, the reason I wanted to bring you on and talk to you about it, is that it is kind of a miracle that it works, man. And I think that you're a big part of that. You seeing and being involved in the facilities of it. I think people don't realize that, like, especially parents, when they're like, oh, I want my kid to do this league or play on this team or this team. The hoops that you have to jump through to get a camp together, much less a league, is innumerable. There's no limit to the paperwork that you have to have set and ready to go to make that work. And seeing it firsthand, I got to see it to make sure it's real, right? And that because anyone can cut a highlight. My man, anyone can cut a highlight, but seeing it in person, I was like, wow, this is actually like better put together than my men's league. Like, and my men's league's been around for 25 years. And I'm watching it, I was like, this is the first season of this? This is crazy. So, congratulations to you on doing that. But, what are some of the struggles you've had doing it besides the administrative side?
Honestly, man, the struggles are the struggles and pressure that I put on myself. Like, as far as like me just trying to be on top of it, I think, I mean, it's like the baby things. Like, last week, before you got there, the field house was locked, and Waynflete has an unbelievable summer camp that they run at the whole facility. And I'm in touch with all of them. I'm in touch with, the facilities guy. I'm in touch with the camp directors, and I got all their connects. And it's just like those little things where I had to shuffle to get the equipment needed for the league. And so luckily I'm close with the soccer coach who's running, camp next door, and he's got the goods. I can get my athletic director on the horn whenever I'd like. He's the best athletic director, I think, in the state. So I think a lot of the struggles is what I put on myself, just making sure that each week, I'm taking attendance from all the teams. And I think that's been the most outstanding part, is the amount of buy-in and commitment that these guys have. These guys are on the horn with me within 25 minutes of me reaching out and saying, hey, coach, I can't make this week. And that way I know, and I'm reaching out to my pool of alternates, like, hey, we got a shorty. We have a pole that can't make it this week. Goalies will always get filled. And it's been an agreement with, since the inception of the league that we don't call alternates for the playoffs or the championship. So that's kind of been off my table these last couple of weeks. But as far as struggles, I'm like an anxious guy. And so just the execution and how the league has gone and how I need to deliver to these guys that have been so committed and have been so like ready to go. Like I have a job to just make sure that they're enjoying it and the execution is spot on. And so I think off the top of my head, I think it's just the pressure that I put on myself to make sure it's done the right way and to make sure there's some contingency and we can just keep this thing going. Because as of right now, the players have been outstanding. The refs have been great. They've built great relationships with the guys. And that was kind of my goal going into it is like, boys, like you're great. You're a great group of guys. This is a cool opportunity to build some relationships with the Maine lacrosse community. Like you are reffing and working with some of the greatest players that are playing in Maine right now. And absolutely do your job. But at the same time, like this, you see who's the head coach, the head ref in the PLL, Syracuse goalie. What's his name?
Matty Palin.
Matty Palin. Like he had such great relationships with those boys. Like they can chop it up back and forth. But at the end of the day, like Matty Palin has some of the greatest relationships with those PLL guys. So it's a long question, long answer, but I would say just like the pressure I put on myself to get the job done, I think has been the biggest struggle for me. And like my wife can attest to that. Like my wife knows like how much time I put into it. And, she always just lets me know that, the hay's in the barn, the hay is in the barn, like just time to execute now. Like let the leaves fall how they may.
Let's talk about who's in trouble right now. Cause I'm in a hotel room doing a podcast. Vacation. Yeah. I don't know. I could be on the floor tonight. We don't know. We're not sure. It was a risk. But we took it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think it's awesome the buy-in that you've got in from everybody in the league's infancy. And, Maine's a huge sprawling state. I'm sure guys are driving all over however many hours going to play in this thing. What's the number size we're looking at for this league? How many guys you have coming? I'm sure that they're coming from far distances from the state to come to play you guys. Is how many teams, how many players? Like, what's the pool size looking like?
Yeah. So at the beginning of the season, we actually had too many. And so we were going to start the season.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. We were going to start the season with 88 guys. And so I had to get firm commitments from everybody. So I'm on the horn, emails, text messages, all that stuff being like, listen, like you're who we want in the league. But at the same time, I'm going to take someone that's going to be here for 5 weeks over you that's only going to be here for 3. And that was the trickiest part. And so we had to weed out the kids that were like, oh, man, I registered. I got all the info, blah, blah. And okay, so now you need to commit to 5 weeks. And so, guys are busy. These college guys are busy. They're working hard all summer long to pay for whatever they got to do in the fall. And so I really had to establish that level of commitment. And if there were a couple guys that I took just because they need to be in the league that only made 3 games. But we cut it down to 72 guys, so 18 per team. And going into the season, I knew that in order to make the season work, we needed 56 guys, and we could do the league. And that includes 3 poles and a goalie for each team. So that's like the bare minimum. And again, I've said this already, but I've just been so humbled by the amount of buy-in for what we put together. And 72 guys, 18 per roster. And each week we've had a full bench just because we had a firm draft cutoff for payment and the, registration cutoff. We took it off social and, people came in late. And the funny thing is I drafted 62, but I knew that we would get more once the people that were like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like I work, I can't really, I don't know yet. And then as soon as we posted the rosters, like open the floodgates. And we had kids that were like, hey, coach, like I I have time now. So I knew that we'd get like 8 floaters coming in. And so, we filled 72 in less than 12 hours when we released the roster. It was pretty cool. And so we had some fun, announcing that on social, saying that so-and-so got picked up, out of the player pool. We did a little, nice little photo and stuff, and kind of kept delivering the hype. And, it's just been so much fun. But, the pool's been great. 72 guys, and it's been perfect. Exactly what we wanted.
Totally. Yeah. Let me ask you about how you kind of got into lacrosse and your background and how you ended up at Waynflete.
Yeah. So I went to a private school in Portland, Chevrolet High School. And through Chevrolet, we do senior service projects. And through there, I learned that I wanted to be a teacher. I was put in East End Community School right on the hill on Munjoy Hill in Portland, Maine for 4 weeks. And I kind of just figured out this is what I want to do. I followed a 4th grade class around for 4 weeks every day. And, we went to a PE class. The PE teacher was a stud, just a 6'2", ex-football player that was having the kids run laps. They had a log sheet, and they're putting in their logs for how many laps they did. And then they did push-ups, how many push-ups they did. And I'm just looking at this guy and I'm being like, this is this dude's job. Like, this is what this dude does every single day. And so I got to talking to him, and I kind of put myself, under the idea that I wanted to be an athletic director. I had an immense amount of respect for my athletic director in high school. He was such a great guy. And so, going into my senior year into college, I was like, I want to be an athletic director, but that's a sports management business type thing. And through there, I played lacrosse all through high school. That was kind of my first love was hockey. I played hockey since I was 5. And I got cut from the hockey team my sophomore year at Chevrolet, a really competitive team, and guys that play year round. And I was never a year round hockey guy. So I kind of got weeded out at a really competitive private hockey school. And so from there, I just dialed into lacrosse. The resources I had for lacrosse were very similar to everybody else. There wasn't a lot of club being offered the time that I played. So it was Maine Select my junior and senior year. Recruiting wasn't really discussed if you were kind of like a low tier, like middle tier D3 guy like I was. So I had like the local New England stuff. I was interested in Plymouth State, Keene State, USM, LaSalle, Salem State. So just like those small end schools where like I knew I had the grades for it, I could get in and play. And so I spent my first semester at Keene State College in New Hampshire. And I came in late into the fall. I took a gap semester, and, the coach had everyone at Keene State at the time in 2008 was just Pinkerton kids, guys that played with kids that were playing D1. And so here I am, like a slick little attackman that just can't hang with a Pinkerton attackman, a Pinkerton pole. And I hadn't really gotten the exposure these guys had. So I stuck around for a month. And then Coach Mark, Terrio, he's a great guy. He pretty much just shot me straight. He's like, listen, like, I don't have a spot for you here on the team. And I respected his decision. And so from there, I transferred out to UMaine, and I finished my playing days at UMaine playing MCLA D2 club. And for the last 3 years, I was the captain and president of the team, which, the president, you're essentially running a business. You're running the team. You're collecting payments, you're paying dues, you're going to MCLA meetings, you're going to conference meetings, you're on conference calls. It was fantastic. As some of you might know with club, there's peaks and valleys to being a club lacrosse player. It's you got to pay to play, and the commitment isn't always there. The stick skills aren't always there. But I was fortunate in my last 3 years at Maine. We had such a great nucleus of guys from all over New England. We had a couple good D3, D1 transfers that just wanted to play lacrosse. And so it was a perfect balance of social life, lacrosse, level of play. And, you're in your own fraternity at that point. Lacrosse is still such a fraternal sport. And so from there, I got a bachelor's degree in kinesiology and physical education. I landed my first job at St. Dominic Academy in Auburn. I was the head coach there for 2 years. Was the phys ed teacher there. On top, after that, I was kind of double dipping in Well, before that, I landed my first coaching job at St. Joseph's College after I graduated as the assistant coach over there, and kind of got a feel for how a college program is run. I ran the box. I was kind of like a yes coach type guy. Running the box is one of the worst jobs on the planet. You know, if you're trying to run a competitive box, it is hands down the worst job. But some guys are so dialed and so locked in.
How many goals I've missed because my back's to the field organizing the next size. I'm like, damn, I wish I could have seen that. Worst.
Big time, dude. Big time. And like some guys are so good at it and they love it. So I was a young guy. I got caught watching the game too much and like trying to coach the game. And so I was subpar at best as a box coach. And the players would let me know, be like, yeah, dude, you're right. I totally messed up there. And so I did that for a year and I double dipped. I did St. Joseph's College. I coached there for a year, and I was coached at Yarmouth High School under some great coaches at Yarmouth High School. Went to a couple state championships there. So I was there for 2 years, landed my first job at St. Dom's as a phys ed teacher. I was a full-time sub for those 2 years before. And then I was was coaching club. I was coaching with True Lacrosse. I have a friend out there in Chicago who put me on the True Lacrosse circuit. And so I did that in True Florida, True Utah, True Florida, True Utah. I was going out to tournaments all over the country there. So that was fun. And St. Dom's kind of, put me in a position where we can't pay you your full salary anymore. And they no on tuition dollars. And as you might know, they closed last year. So I was kind of put in a position where like, I can't look a part-time salary. So I left, and I was fortunate enough to land a job at Waynflete School, which is right in the West End of Portland, and kind of flew right into their lacrosse program. I was still coaching club, with True around the area. And through that, I met the current head coach at USM, and we actually started running our own club called Team Dirigo. So we were on the circuit for a couple of years doing tournaments all over New England. And, we were at Yale, we were at Bryant, UMass, Legacy, all those tournaments. That was real fun. And I was his assistant coach at USM for 3 years. And from there, like I've just always tried to put myself in a position, to learn and grow. We won 3 state championships at Waynflete, and we've had some really good guys go through there, some really good NESCAC guys. And it's just been a constant growing journey. Like here I am at St. Mark's with Trilogy, just because I had a great conversation with Ryan Boyle on social media. And, we talked for, 25 minutes, and he's like, hey, you're a New England guy. I would love to have you come out and work one of the camps. And this was 2 years ago. And, I'm always just trying to put myself in a position to learn and grow. I like to consider, like, I don't have the pedigree that a lot of those high coaches, coach at. Like I'm not repping a NESCAC or a Division I background, but I like to think that I've always put myself in a position to work around great people, and I've established my own, philosophy and then pedigree and style of play. So it's been fun, man. I'm so fortunate to be teaching and coaching and doing what I wanted to do at such a young age.
Located 8 miles outside of Philadelphia, Haverford College provides a collaborative, ethical, and academically rigorous environment where student agency and leadership can thrive. Our men's lacrosse program promotes the college mission because leadership drives you to become the best version of yourself. Leadership nurtures growth and accountability. Leadership adapts to overcome challenges in an ever-changing world. We are Haverford College Men's Lacrosse, and leadership is in our DNA.
Kyle, you and I were talking on the last podcast, or maybe the next one, depending on what airs when, but about finding your right fit and finding your right home, like maybe the low D1, the high D3, wherever you want to fit. And you found yours in club eventually. And that's just a message to kids out there. Club lacrosse is still an option. That's still, you can find your right home. It's competitive. It's legit. It's not just messing around, picking up a stick. You can find a good home, and it's maybe less of a commitment, but just that's always an option to have. We talked about a little bit before we started recording about just the logistics of having a team versus not having a team. I've dealt with it in Mass. I'm sure you've dealt with it, Kyle.
Yeah.
We have in our league, even JV teams come and go, even varsity teams come and go year to year. And you've obviously had your struggles with that. Just what's that like, not just with you, but just in the state of Maine? Does that happen where some teams are there one year and not there the next? And how has it kind of been with your story?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we're kind of in that bubble right now where, our middle school, we got a great middle school kids, but we're just such a small school. Our school in total pre-K through 12 is 578. And so when you get up to the high school, that number's around the 170s, high 170s. And so I know there are so many schools in New England that have those low enrollments, but we unfortunately have fallen into that place where we just don't have the lacrosse bodies the last couple of years. Even our best teams, where we're competing with Class B and Class A guys, we're still only rocking a 24-man bench, 25-man bench. And we have 5 or 6 true JV players on that bench. And then the rest of the guys are varsity guys. But those true JVs are still getting reps just because we don't have the depth to do it otherwise. And so there's plenty of programs that have co-opted. It usually just ends in a co-op. So if you're in a similar region to another team, those guys will co-op. We have a private school in Eastern Maine that's co-opted with another high school. There's a couple other high schools that rock the JV team this this season. And it's just, that's kind of how it goes. Like, I'd like to think that the foundation and culture that myself and the head coach have built at Waynflete would be enough to maintain that lacrosse program. But, when you got guys playing club basketball, club soccer all season long, just the state of lacrosse isn't big enough yet in Maine where you have the depth of guys playing lacrosse year round. There's so little full-time lacrosse guys in Maine. And that's just how it goes. And, I've been fortunate enough to be in a really good position to have a competitive lacrosse team the last 4 years. And so this is the hand that I've been dealt. And, we've been building from the ground up, from the middle school program up. I mean, I recruit third graders. Like, I literally, when I teach phys ed, I have 35 String King junior sticks in my phys ed closet. And I bought those 4 years ago. And we run a full lacrosse unit for kindergartners, first graders for 2 weeks. And that's, Waynflete lifers are a real thing. Waynflete kids will stay from preschool all the way up to 12th grade. And to just try to build that identity as a lacrosse player at an early age has definitely helped in my 7-year tenure that I've been at Waynflete. But teams come and go all the time. And what's sad is they don't often seem to come back. So the thought of us possibly co-oping next season is a little kind of a bummer, but I'm still going to be in a position to coach. And so I'll be grateful for whatever opportunity I can get to work with Maine high school guys.
How does the split work with just public, and then you have Catholic and private day schools, right? Because you also have prep schools in Maine. There's obviously like Bridgeton and stuff. What is the split with ABC instead of one, right? Like, how does that work?
So that is a great point of conversation the last few years. And because right now, NPA, Maine Principals Association, they determine class based on school size. Right. So Waynflete's Class C, strictly based on the size of our school. We have 170-ish kids in our high school. So we're in Class C. And then you have a school, like Cape Elizabeth, who their high school has, upwards in the thousands of kids. They're going to be in Class A. A big school like Lewiston is going to be in class, they're going to be in Class A. So that's just how it works for everyone in the state. There's a lot of people out there that would be curious about a relegated system where, the best C teams would bump up to B, and then the weaker B teams would bump down to C. The best B teams would bump up to A, and that relegation changes every other year. You determine if, so-and-so still belongs in A. They finished in the bottom of the barrel this year. Maybe let's bump them down to B. Let's give them an opportunity for success. No one wants to see a 19-2 first round playoff game. No one wants to see that in Class A, B, or C, right? Like that, no one's getting better in that position. And so, not to put anyone down, that is to put that together would be an unbelievable overtaking. So as of right now, and probably how it's going to stay is it's school size, it's enrollment size, it's how big your school is. And to that point, your player pool is so much larger than everybody else in Class A. And so me personally, I would love to be put in a position where I'm coaching at a high school with 2,000 kids. And I'm, and just like, you have that massive pool of guys to just try to recruit, and that'd be a cool opportunity, in that sense, is their pool is just so big. But we've made it work the last 6 years at Waynflete. But we just got put in a position where we had great lacrosse players. We just didn't have enough to put it together. We played sixes all season.
Yeah, the co-opting thing, I think people maybe, obviously, definitely in Mass, that's not a conversation happening.
No,
too many people, it would never happen. In New Hampshire,
it happened in my league, Kyle.
Did it really?
Norwood and Dedham co-opted, but the problem with that is if you co-op, you immediately have to jump up a division.
Yeah, that's what they're trying. We're walking through that right now in Hopkinton, where probably shouldn't be talking about this, but I don't care. It's summer. What are you going to do? There's a team that couldn't keep enough numbers, and they're thinking about joining with us for a couple sports, not just one. We already co-opt hockey with John Stark, which is my alma mater. The John Stark lacrosse team didn't exist for a year. That's why I coached at Hopkins, because I would have coached at John Stark. I would have loved to go back, but Hopkins is way more fun. And I technically lived in Hopkinton anyway, so that's why I coached there. My sister lives there. Everyone knows that story. But there's this other town, Hillsborough, which is a little farther down by Henniker, which is part of John Stark. And they actually produced Paolo Vasquez, who is a D1 faceoff guy now. He's going to UMBC. He went to BG, but I coached against him his first true freshman year. And I was like, you have this kid? You should have way more kids playing lacrosse. But for some places, it's cultural, right? Like, not everybody gets the hockey kids and the football kids to play lacrosse. Mm-hmm. It's not. You have to have the right energy as a coach to do that. Like that, I would like to say that I have that kind of like, you're coming and playing for me. Let's go. I recruited tons of kids from basketball, hockey, soccer. I don't care.
Basketball all day.
Basketball kids are great. I will tell you this. Soccer kids are great until they get hit. Everybody else is really like they are. Yeah. That's sorry. We have a couple of track kids. The track kid in our final game, not our final game, our next to last game, because we lost in the semis. In our quarterfinal game, we put our track kid in, and the coach goes, "All right, go sit on the crease." I'm like, "Don't put him on the crease. Don't put it. What? No, don't do that." And they're trying to manufacture the slide so he can get, because the other team had subbed out. We were already winning. The game was already decided. The last 2 minutes, we're feeding this kid balls on the inside. He was a track kid. He got destroyed no less than 3 times, but got up every single time, missed the net twice, didn't catch it once. One went off his face. Like, it was awesome. Like, bringing kids in like that. And we've talked about this from our JV coaching backgrounds, bringing kids in that there are kids that click right away with lacrosse. And you'd never expect it, right? Like, there are kids that they just have the hand-eye, and then there are kids, but they can't get the cradle right. They're cradling kind of women's style across their face, or they're doing the little butterfly.
Little butterfly.
Yeah, I need this. Yeah, don't clip that, guys. Don't clip that. This is a video podcast. Remember that. So there's that going on, but then you're also working with guys that are pure athletes that can't quite get the catching down, but they're so fast and so agile, and
they have a home. They have a home in lacrosse.
Yeah, right. Part of the great art of being a coach, right? Part of the arc, if you will, if you have your coaching career, is like finding the ways to connect the dots of kids that are super athletic but have garbage hand-eye, guys that have great hand-eye but try and develop their athleticism to a point where they can contribute, is the most rewarding thing about coaching. And I can't stress it enough. I think I've said this multiple times in this podcast. The biggest problem with New Hampshire, and I'm going to say this for Maine, you can tell me if I'm wrong, there's just not enough coaches. There's not enough coaches, man. Like, you just need to have guys that are invested and know what they're doing. You get those two things. Massachusetts has had it. Massachusetts is 25 years ahead of us. Both of us combined, by the way. And we're all beating Vermont, which is fine. And Connecticut's ahead of Mass, right? Like,
so is Long Island, so is DMV.
What?
So is Long Island, so is the DMV. They're ahead of Mass.
Of course. And those teams are, for me, it's the generational adaptation of the coaching. It's not the players. Everyone thinks it's players. It's not. Coaching. If you have more coaches that know what they're doing and have their own ideas, instead of dudes that are parroting what they see on, oh, well, this team does this, so I'm going to run my team this way every single year. You can't do that.
No,
you can't do that. That's not how you coach at this level or any other level. And I've run into parents that are like, oh, well, when I played at X school, we did things this way, and I'm going to coach every team like this. I'm like, good luck, dude. Those kids are going to hate you by the second week when they can't figure out what a wheel is. Like, they're going to, sorry, bro. Like, that's going to happen to you. That's going to be tough. Like, that's the thing and that's why I wanted, Coach, that's why I wanted to have you on. I want coaches from other places and have other perspectives that are getting involved in a game in a different way or creating their own way to contribute to the community alone, right? Like, we do a ton of preps on New England Lacrosse Journal. We get praise for that. We get flack for that. Great. Listen, business is business. We're going to do that. And those are good players and those are good teams. And we're going to keep covering that. We're also going to cover as much public as we can, right? Like, Owen coaches at Westwood. They made the semifinals. I coached at a small team. My school, by the way, 300 kids. 300 kids total in the high school.
Wow.
Wild. And we make it to the semifinals. Every single year I've been there, we made it to semifinals or the championship game. And that's an accomplishment I'm super proud of, but it also kind of doesn't have that much to do with me. It has a lot more to do with the youth program that's building these kids. Like, my project outside of Lacrosse Journal and all this other work that I'm doing is we're building a Bible. We're building the Bible of lacrosse for Hopkinton. We're doing, here are all our drills. Here are why they work. Here is our warm-up. Here are some of the plays we run. Here is our philosophy. Boom. Here you go. Kids are going to learn it from grade 2. And then
community.
Those kids when I'm gone, those kids are going to benefit from that. And I think that's the coolest thing about lacrosse that people don't realize. Like, that's how you build. The people in Long Island know. The people in Baltimore know. Some of the people in Mass know. That's how you build. That's how you make everything great. That's how you get to a point where a public school can challenge, some of the prep schools in Mass. And that's a whole other, not prep schools, sorry, Catholic schools in Mass. That's a whole other thing we can talk about, right? Like, that's a different podcast for a different day. Definitely not for the summer vibes we're casting.
Yeah, but
I'm definitely getting yelled at for wearing a tank top on this thing, by the way. That's 1,000% happening. Owen just left. His internet cut out because he couldn't take it.
Oh,
that's all right. Coach, anything else before we wrap this up that you want to talk about on your mind about, Maine Lax Power?
Yeah.
I know you have another thing coming in the fall. Maybe talk about that.
Yeah, man. So we have the championship game tonight between Dirigo and the Black Bears. We had a great playoff. You saw the great playoff contention last week. And we're hoping to put together, after the game today, I have a document to be sent out to the guys, just contingency plans and wish list for the league moving forward. And once again, like, I have full transparency with the guys in the league, just talking about what we're doing moving forward and what we hope to get going in this league for next summer. But we have Futures League that we're looking to put together this fall, starting in the September time. And we have a great pool of guys right now that are interested. And, the commitments are slowly coming in, and we're going to make that registration public today after the championship game today, and give people from within the lacrosse community to register for the fall high school lacrosse championship model league that we're going to do, called the Futures League. So, still some things to put together with that as far as where we're playing and all that good stuff, but hoping to give the same model and same same energy and time into a high school league this fall. And then again, it's the commitment of football guys and soccer players and club lacrosse players. So I'm still trying to get that perspective from a handful of guys on what their commitment is, but hoping to put together something really cool and exciting this fall as well. So looking forward to that. Championship tonight at 7 p.m. Winners are going to rep one of these Maine Lax Power flat brims, courtesy of Atlantic Sportswear, putting this together for us. Yeah, it's been a blast, man. And, I'm still coaching all summer. We'll have, I'll have stuff going on with private lessons, and, I'm working with the True Lacrosse national team. So I'll have some stuff in the fall, and, just looking after this league's done, just kind of looking for some time to relax a little bit.
Yeah. Well, if lacrosse is your job, relaxation is short order. It's short order. We're all working to make it work. But I really appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
But try and convince a couple people to let me go to this thing tonight. Because my family's all here. But I would love to check that out. And we want to thank you for listening to the England Lacrosse Journal Chase the Goal podcast. For Owen Hart, I'm Proud Levitt.